And while we talking about the Gaza Strip and all the bullshit that they're talking about, I'm still asking the question: who was the one that funded the transatlantic slave trade? Hmm? Who was the one that put all that money to remove all them Egyptians from the land and bring them here into slavery? Hmm? Who funded the Atlantic slave trade? Look it up. You know what I'm saying? Do your research. We're not going for the bowl. Let's get down and let's really begin to do this research, people. It's important that you do because this will lead to the solution in which you need to bring forward here in the United States in your political arena. You know what I'm saying? While you're sitting up there, you know what I'm saying, allowing these people to get away for year in and year out on a demon democratical, even over there in so-called criminally renamed occupation Israel, demon democratical mind frame that has been driving the Luciferian murdering, killing, pedophilia, sex trafficking, slavery, you know what I'm saying, kidnapping of people and all types of dumb shit going on across the planet, and they smiling, grinning like it's supposed to be so funny, to the point where they have even gotten to the point where they have even have these movie stars and these actors and these different people not even speaking up. Some of them are, some of them ain't, you know what I'm saying, but they're not speaking on it at all. You know what I'm saying? They're busy over there sucking blood and signing contracts and giggling and skiggling and shit. You know what I'm saying? And eating, probably eating people and shit and all kinds of nastiness. And then you want to come in our piece and dark shit. You're full of shit.
A week ago, I was announced, I got the information that my mom and my niece been murdered. I didn't even time to grave and to go to the funeral. Today, a week after, I went up to the grave. So today I was crying and grieving, and now I'm celebrating. You know, it's a surrealistic situation. We are celebrating my son Erez, is 12 years old today. We're celebrating his birthday. He loves the mountain bike, and his father also is very professional in riding bike. So that's what you see, and I wish he could be here to enjoy with everybody, to feel like a normal boy.
We're joined now in Jerusalem by Gershom Baskin. He is Middle East Director of the International Communities Organization Human Rights Advocacy Group. In 2011, he helped negotiate the release of the Israeli soldier Gilad Shalit from Hamas captivity after 5 years in exchange for the release of 1,027 Palestinian prisoners. His memoir is called In Pursuit of Peace in Israel and Palestine. Welcome back to Democracy Now!, Gershom Baskin. If you can say what you think needs to happen right now.
What needs to happen is what Hamas spoke about already 2 weeks ago, which is a release of what they call the civilian hostages in exchange for an immediate ceasefire. That's what Hamas has been saying since yesterday, and yesterday there was a change of tone from Musa Abu Marzouk, is the Hamas official who went to Moscow. I communicated with Dr. Musa Abu Marzouk yesterday, who for the first time said there needs to be a ceasefire first, and then we'll talk about the hostages. Right now, Hamas is holding women, children, elderly people, wounded and sick people who it's obviously against international humanitarian law to hold them, to abduct them, to kill them. It's also against Islam. It's against their own beliefs in the Quran to take women and children and elderly people as hostages.
That's right.
I think that Israel is prepared to grant a ceasefire to stop the bombardment of Gaza and to enable civilian hostages to come home. We have to be clear also who we're talking about, because for Hamas, every Israeli is a soldier. So it needs to be defined who they are talking about when they're talking about civilians. But there's a big complication here, because Hamas is probably not holding all the hostages. The Hamas political leadership, which is scattered between Gaza, Beirut, and Doha, is not in charge of the hostages, and it's not clear that when they make an obligation, say to the Qatari government, that they are willing to negotiate some kind of deal, that they are actually able to implement the deal. There's a big question about it, of who is talking to the people who have control of the hostages, and whether or not Hamas at all has control of all the hostages, because some are taken by Islamic Jihad, some by PFLP, and some by individuals who are holding hostages.
Talk about your back channels, Gershon, to Hamas, to Egypt, and to Qatar.
I've been talking to everyone. I've been talking to Hamas people in Gaza, in Qatar, and in Beirut. It's a very difficult conversation. In my assessment today, 3 weeks into this war, is that they don't have a coherent strategy. They're not all giving the same messages. And as said, I'm not sure that they even have control. The Qataris were talking quite a lot, wanted direct contact with the Israelis. Myself and a colleague who's in Rome put them in direct contact with the Israelis. It's not sure who they're talking to on the Israeli side, and if the people they're talking to the Israeli side are actually sitting in the war cabinet making the decisions. It seems that the side with the best contact are the Egyptians. The Egyptians were responsible for releasing the second two women, who are Israelis without second passports. They're Israelis, members of a kibbutz along the Gaza border. One of them has been a peace activist and a volunteer driver of sick Palestinian children from Gaza to Israeli hospitals for years. And it seems that they were released as a result of Egyptian pressure on Al-Qassam, on the military wing of Hamas.
That was Yocheved Lipschitz, who also spoke to the press after she